So remind me of our bet, which I've tried to put out of my mind, but you haven't let me, which is very smart. I was nowhere down on Tennessee. I think you would agree with that. I thought Tennessee would win easily 9 games and quite possibly 10. Please be sure and hit that like, subscribe, and share button. We want to see how many likes we can get up there. We've got stuff to give away in the program. So like, subscribe, and share. But Amanda, we we made a bet, and I thought Tennessee would play well this season. I thought the 8.5 or 7.5 at one point preseason, that was their over/under win total. I thought that was one of the best bets in all of college football. Thought they definitely win 9. Now it looks like 9 is a foregone conclusion, but we made a bet. I still didn't think they could go to Athens and beat the Bulldogs. So what is our bet again? Because it commences Saturday at a Norris Lake near you.
So our bet was if they go into Athens and they beat Georgia, then you had to jump into the lake in the middle of November.
Early November.
Yeah.
Don't make it sound worse than it is. But you're doing the same thing, right?
No.
Oh, no. If Georgia wins, you've got to jump in the lake.
Oh, yes, if Georgia wins. But I don't know if you saw Georgia, Florida. I don't think that's going to happen.
No. What are some, before we get to some news specifically about Tennessee, let's talk about some of the games that affected Tennessee. You can start with the Georgia game, or you can go with Penn State, because I think that affected Tennessee, the Penn State Ohio State game, because CJ Stroud, you texted me in the middle of it, and then other books moved as well. Hendon Hooker is now your Heisman favorite.
Yes.
Not a contender, not possibly going to New York. He's going to go to New York, barring an injury or suspension, which we don't think is going to happen. But at the bottom line is, a lot of people think he's going to beat CJ Stroud, even if things play out as they should. Now, I was talking to somebody yesterday, and I think that they'll do everything they can to give it to Ohio State and CJ Stroud, which is a shame for me. I hear everything and everybody and all those sorts of terms that are thrown out, and I know a bunch of Heisman voters, and I am one, and I don't know why you would try to give it to any particular person or have an agenda, but another voter said he does think that's out there. I don't know, but to me, the better story is by far Hendon Hooker, and I think there's a great chance that he wins the Heisman.
I mean, I don't think, and maybe people do try to give it to certain people, but I look at RG3 that won it. I look at Lamar Jackson. They were all kind of off the radar to start the season, and then they ended up coming back and winning the Heisman Trophy. They weren't on the best team. They weren't with the best players. They just made their team a completely different team, and I think that's why they won it. They were exciting to watch, and Hendon is exciting to watch. So I think he has all of the makings of a Heisman quarterback. I think a lot of people vote for him, maybe because they're tired of seeing people like CJ Stroud in there, Ohio State quarterback, or an Alabama running back. I mean, people are probably tired of seeing that, and for the most part, I think people go for the most exciting player, and that's really what we see. So,
Yeah, as far as most exciting, when I watch those two teams, Ohio State and Tennessee, I don't think there's any question Hooker's more exciting than Stroud. And part of that's because the offensive play design, part of that's you can go on and on and on. But so we've got a lot to get to. Chris Landry will join us. Also, message board bingo, today's tough question as well. But let's get to the down and dirty at 30. The down and dirty at 30 is brought to you each and every weekday just after 8:30 by Honeybee Coffee. And Honeybee Coffee, top 5% of the beans in the world. But the bottom line is Honeybee Coffee is just really, really good coffee.
it is. It's really good coffee, and I have it with me right here. Always. Always drink it. It starts the day off right, and that's all you can really ask for out of your coffee.
Amen. Go to honeybeecoffee.com. That's honeybeecoffee.com. So let's get to the down and dirty at 30. Is a lot to get to on this Monday morning. And wow, Tennessee now is number 2. I can remember being just a kid and watching Tennessee climb up the rankings. Now, this is before the division split, so this is way before your time, Amanda. But I remember watching Tennessee climb the SEC rankings and think, wow, they're at number 3, or that maybe they're at number 4, and getting excited about that as a kid. Now you're talking about number 2 in the nation, the college football playoff set to come out on Tuesday. Amanda, this Tennessee football team is poised to do things that haven't been done in a long, long, long time, since like 1998, win a national championship. I believe I can say at this point, definitively, they are the best team that Tennessee's had since 2001. That team was just bad coaching away from playing in the national championship game. They blew it in the SEC championship game against Nick Saban and LSU. So, Amanda, this team just continues to climb, and I don't know that there's an elite team this year, and if it is, it might be Tennessee. So certainly the table is set as of October the 31st, 2022.
Yeah, I don't know if there's really an elite team. I think that it's not what a lot of Tennessee fans want to hear, but I think that this team has the best coach. They have something new, something different that people can't figure out on defense. They can't adapt to it. They also have a pretty good defense. I don't think we're seeing that, what they did to Will Levis. I don't think that is just coincidental. I think they have a pretty good defense. And I know a lot of people have been on them about their secondary or what have you, but it didn't look bad on Saturday.
No, it looked dominant. And there are now 2 times that Tennessee has looked dominant on defense, and that's LSU and over the weekend against Kentucky. And those are against pretty good teams. Now, Jaden Daniels wasn't great at the time, and they're still finding themselves, but those receivers are fantastic at LSU. We've seen LSU surge. Kentucky has a potential first-round pick in the NFL. And then the other time that I wouldn't say they were dominant, but they saved their rears, was the Pitt game. Late in that game, if Tennessee's defense doesn't show up, they don't win that game. So are we past the point? Please like, subscribe, and share. Pound that like button. We greatly appreciate it. Are we past the point, Amanda, that we say Tennessee's defense, in particular the secondary, is a weakness? Are we beyond that, or do you still have some doubts?
I don't see how we're not beyond that. I mean, I understand that that Alabama game, Alabama put up a lot of points, but that was a Heisman Trophy winner. I mean, that was someone who was competing for the national title last season. So I think that's an unfair critique of Tennessee's secondary, considering that who they played against. But every time else, they've showed up.
Let me ask you this. Okay, so let's take 7 off the board because they wouldn't have. That was a defensive touchdown that they had. If it's not Bryce Young and it's just pick an Alabama quarterback from the past before they got really good with Hurts and Tua and all those guys, pick an average quarterback. Go back.
AJ McCarron.
Yeah, second AJ
McCarron.
Yeah. Okay. How many points do they score with that type of quarterback on that night?
That's going to be tough to say, just because if you're going with the receiver depletion that Alabama is currently going through.
That's the most loaded question I could have possibly asked you.
Yeah, it is, because you have to consider every angle. But if you had like a mediocre quarterback with those receivers, Alabama scores like maybe 21.
That's about what I was going to say. Mr. Zip saying there's a reason why they didn't make Tennessee number 1. If they lose, it'll be the number 1 team in the country. And with their resume, they'll play in the college football playoff. That's if they lose to UGA and win out. And on our YouTube channel, I had an opportunity to visit with Cooper Mays yesterday. Jacob Warren is on there too. So please check that out. Like, subscribe, and share. And I asked Cooper Mays, I said, so I mean, because to me, Amanda, this is getting pretty heavy, right? I mean, with every win, there's more at stake. And I said, so right before we started, Cooper, I saw where the winner of the Tennessee Georgia game has a 78% chance of making the college football playoff. And I hate those odds and that FPI or whatever it is and everything. I said, but I just thought I'd throw that out there at you. What do you think? And he goes, yeah, that sounds about right. That was it. It's like we were just supposed to get up and go fishing at that point. He was not surprised at all. But really, if you look at the inside track, the winner has the ability to do that. Because the way they've got things set up, let's say Alabama, well, let's say Tennessee or Georgia run the regular season table, whatever we're calling that now, before the SEC championship game. Amanda, if Alabama wins, Tennessee still or Georgia will probably still make the college football playoff if that's their only loss, right?
I would say so. I mean, who else are you going to put in there? I think this week, uh, I think Clemson's going to be handed their first loss by Notre Dame.
Mm.
And I just don't, I mean, we saw what they did to Syracuse, and unfortunately for my, for my betting, that was not great. But I mean, I don't see who else you put in there. You have either Ohio State or Michigan. One of those is going to go. But I only think it's going to be one, especially the way that Ohio State is playing. And I understand that they beat Penn State. But Georgia, Florida, Penn State, Ohio State were very similar games. Extraordinarily similar games if you watch them. I mean, it was neck and neck. Penn State was coming back. I mean, it was, and then a couple of mistakes went, and boom, 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 points were scored. Same with Florida, Georgia. So Michigan and Ohio State, one of those is going to get knocked out. Clemson gets knocked out. Then who's going to put in there? Oregon? No. You're going to put Oregon in there. USC's lost. Oregon got stomped by Georgia. Nobody wants to see another 59-0 or 59-3 or whatever it ended up being. No one wants to see that again. So who you put in there now? You have to put at least two SEC teams in there. At least.